On this adventure, Penny and I took the Basecamp up to the Camping and Caravanning Club site at Millerrocky Bay next to Loch Lomond. It's a great site with some fantastic views over Loch Lomond, and it's a good starting off point for the Highlands. Our final destination, however, was Mull. The next day we got up and drove through the Highlands up to the port of Oban. Oban's a nice little town with excellent seafood on the quayside, which you really have to experience. For a few pounds we got a plate full of freshly cooked local mussels. Soon enough we drove onto the Calmac ferry to make our way across the Sound of Mull to the port of Craigniur on Mull. It's only a 45-minute passage from Oban to Mull, and there are some spectacular views on the way. We were staying in Cranich Farm, a small touring caravan park which is a 30-minute drive from Craigniur. After a beautiful drive through the Highlands and across the Sound of Mull, we finally arrived at Cranich Farm and put our feet up for a night in the base camp. Despite the cold weather, the base camp really is cosy and comfortable. After a slow start the next morning, we got up and went for a short walk around the Forest of Arros, which is just down the road from Cranich Farm, where you'll see lots of old settlements and church buildings, which are common on Mull. We went down to Grass Point, which is in the south of the island, and you can occasionally see otters. Good morning. This is my first mini adventure. I'm about to climb my first Munro, which is Ben More on the Isle of Mull. As you see behind me, this is Loch Lomond behind me, and it's rather grey, wet, windy and miserable at the moment. It's due to clear up in April next year. It's now October, so it'll be fine. I've got a nice waterproof jacket on, a good Berghaus Extreme jacket, which is going to keep the water off and the sweat out. It's to next 6 hours of walking up Ben More, my first Munro on the Isle of Mull. And this is the start point for walking up Ben More. I've been going about just over an hour now. You can see behind me I'm just starting to get into the clouds now, so it's wet underfoot, but it's really good. Right, next stop, the summit. The closer to the top of Ben More you get, the steeper and rockier it gets, and it's pretty hard going.
So here I am. This is the top of Ben More. As you can see, it's pretty windswept and desolate. Taking me about 2 3/4 hours, or 2 1/4 hours rather, to get up here. It's windy, it's misty, there's not much to see. I'm in the top of a stone circle here, which was built by climbers and walkers, so going to get off the top here and get down to the bottom as soon as I can. I'm back down now from the top of Ben More. It was wild, windy and cold up there. Couldn't see much and there were precipitous edges, but it was a great experience. I didn't stay long because there was not much to see, but that was a fantastic walk up Ben More and my first Munro bagged.
I really love being outdoors and the feeling of freedom, but also there's a great anticipation of comfort when you look forward to going back to the base camp for a warm night and plenty of good food. A good night's sleep after a hard day in the hills is important, and these Duvet sleeping bags are excellent. They've got a built-in memory foam mattress as well as a duvet, and they are very warm and comfortable, making for a great night's sleep. The next day we drove down to Fionport at the end of the Ross of Mull. There we took the ferry across to Iona. Iona is famous for its Christian community, where there's an abbey and a nunnery. Penny and I spent the day walking around the beautiful island, looking at the spectacular beaches, picturesque buildings, and some of the other great views on the island. On the way back, we decided to take the picturesque route around Loch Lomond back to Greenwich Farm. It's a dramatic drive with lots of passing places to get past the sheep and cattle as well as the other cars, but you really wouldn't want to tow a caravan down here if you can help it. The following morning we woke up to a most beautiful sunrise and decided to go for a walk in the north of the island. We walked to Ardmore Bay, where there's a hide where you can see lots of wildlife including birds and seals. Then we drove to Tobermory, where you can buy excellent fish and chips on the pier, and then walked out to Ardmore Bay, where there's a lighthouse and you can see eagles flying above it. Sadly, it was time to go. I manoeuvred the Basecamp into position so we could tow it off and head back to Craigniel and the ferry. We had almost clear skies that day, so we stopped off on the Sand of Mull to take in the most magnificent views. Ironically, on the ferry on the way back to Oban, I could see the top of Benmore clearly, standing out from Mull. It's a beautiful island and really well worth a trip in your caravan.